Hello, lovelies. This is Lynn. Um, okay, so I'm going to do a reading for the upcoming week of April 13th through the 19th. And I pulled cards from two different decks. So up here, these cards at the top are from the What's the Tea Oracle deck. And lower, these guys here, and then over here are from dun da da da. I know this is surprising to you. The Trish James Oracles deck, predictions deck, excuse me. Okay, so at the top, I found this one very interesting, considering. So I just did a reading on the felon. I know you're shocked, right? Um, and that one is scheduled for release on Monday, the 14th, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific. Anyway, and my whole point of bringing that up has to do with these cards. So, first of all, and that particular reading on 45 was that the Russian state TV uh, pundits, the TV hosts, were mocking 45 for all the damage that he has done to the United States, along with our ranking in world order and power. And so, a big part of what Russia does is um, they direct traffic. I'm going to leave it, I'm going to say it that way. So, but they also then get dirt on the people that they want to control. So I have a dirty offer, and that while what I just described is a past or past events, um, it's ongoing. That is a never ending um, situation, allegedly, with them. And wolf in sheep's clothing comes up. Then we have the forcer, not the enforcer, the forcer. They force things on you, they force their way in, they use force to get what they want. And then finally is child services, and the children are at risk of being taken or about to, or reporting something such as neglect and abuse. To me, I suspect we're going to hear more about this type of case um, in the near future. I don't feel like this is a this week type of thing. I feel like this is over the next few months, but it's coming out in this week's reading, so possibly we may hear of cases involving that. We'll see. All right, moving on. We have military plane. I don't know if you heard or not, but the United States military now has a presence in Panama, um, which I have to say is, I mean, I know the reason for it, but I suspect that the military people who are there have a head scratch going on. And I know, no, can't say I know that. Uh, um, I suspect that Panamanians are also having a head scratch moment. And it's not a head scratch in confusion, it's a head scratch in what? and then you can fill in the T and the F. Okay. We are going to hear big news in the mainstream news. Dun, 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 dun. That's an obvious. Sorry, my sarcasm runs thick. It's its whole separate language inside my head. I try to withhold it. I try to filter it. I'm not always successful. So, there's a possibility that we will hear about military action being taken by 45 and his cabal this week on news shows, but we'll see. Over the past few months, I've been talking about the possibility of another pandemic. I'll put a video because I did one specific on this topic a couple weeks ago. So I'll put a link to that video in the more section. I will, excuse me just a moment, please. Sorry. Okay, back at it. My husband was getting into something in the living room, and that's all I could hear in the background was crinkling. Hopefully, you didn't hear all that, but if you did, I'm sorry. Anyway, so a couple of weeks ago, I did a full reading on will there be another pandemic? And I talked about it being an airborne um, virus or microbe, and we talked about hand dryers. And I didn't, I was given the name of a brand of hand dryers, and it was Spirit's way of pushing me towards hand dryers, the bathroom hand dryers that pick up all the bacterial particles in any public restroom and just shove it right through, and it goes all over your supposedly clean hands. So, um, and the whole point of them talking about those hand dryers was the fact that with COVID, we could track who, not necessarily who, excuse me, but the number of people in a community that were sick. And that was how they kind of could track rising cases of COVID. And it took them a few years into COVID for them to be able to do that, if I recall correctly. So to see this card again and to know that 45 is back in a position of power to oversee management of this, please, 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 if you do not currently have them on hand, face masks, particularly the N95 face masks, um, if you have the uh, if you have the opportunity, if you have the financial means to purchase them, please do. Because I have seen this message now probably 10 times in different readings. So it doesn't keep coming back up if it doesn't exist somehow, somewhere. And considering the mismanagement that we have, we're not going to have good notification of it. Um, it's going to be up to us to figure it out. Okay. And I know it's pretty obvious with this time of year, but tornadoes and high winds. We just had this issue this past week and the week before, where a vast section of the country had tornadoes and high winds for multiple days. There is a significant possibility for floods and heavy rains and tsunami and rising water. So obviously floods and heavy rain goes with the rising water, but I've also been feeling like there's going to be a tsunami. And I feel like that could very well be on the West Coast. I don't know that it's going to be anything like the tsunamis that have occurred in Japan and other locations. I'm seeing the island in my head right now that had one years ago. I do believe there's going to be a tsunami soon. I don't know where. I'm a little iffy on this being the west coast of the United States. Floods and rain feels like the southern area of the United States. Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, possibly Arkansas. I don't, no, take Arkansas back off. Okay, and then finally with these, we have offerings and donation and the greater good. And as one of the things that always brings me hope for our country is the number of people who are willing to travel, who are willing to donate to help other people who are in terrible situations. And they expect nothing in return. They do it for the greater good. And while I know that we all have our shadow side, I also know that the vast majority of people here have an incredible level of kindness to them. And I could be deceiving myself. I hope not, but I could be. I could also be a Pollyanna. Again, I hope not, but I could be. All right, let me pause for a moment and I'll do a reading with my tarot cards. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. So at the heart of the matter is the Emperor in reversed. And this is a male leader. I have received this card in almost every reading I've done um, today. And today is Saturday, April 12th, 2025. If you're coming back to us from the future, hi. um, all right. So, anyway, so this is the Emperor in reverse. And this is just that complete and utter failure to lead. Just the insolence, the corruption, the lack of care, zero empathy, crossed by the Four of Cups, um, focused only on what they have now and not what is being offered. And for this to me, like this cup that's being offered by the spirit, it means this is for the greater good. This person is focused on the cups because that is their greed speaking. They want what they have that is physically within their grasp, and they have no power to see beyond that. Um, but also they don't place any value in anything that does not offer them physical wealth or physical abundance. In this reading, that's what that card means to me. I know sometimes it's hard for, especially people who are not familiar with tarot, to know the meaning of every card. There are 78 cards, I believe, in a deck. I want to say, I hope 78, 80, 78. Shoo, I was right. Um, So it's, each card has its own meaning, but there's also that layered meaning of how it reads in with the overall question that was asked, or the topic that's being read on, and how it fits in with the other cards. So, and that is a shout out to one particular person who's a friend of mine who asked for that information. And that's my short answer. Anyway, at the base of the reading is strength. And this is an energy as opposed to what they really are. In terms of, and I'm reading this from the political perspective right now, but in a moment, I'm going to come back and read this again from the people's perspective. And I read this in terms of 45 is at the heart of the political, and he doesn't care. He has no interest in leading. He has no interest in doing, allegedly, no interest in leading. And allegedly, he wants to create chaos. And he is crossed by, in this particular reading, he is crossed by that Four of Cups, where he doesn't care to know what the intangible gift from the universe is. He wants what he can hold in his hand. He wants proof of that abundance. In this reading, the card of strength is the foundation. Um, they use bully behavior and mob tactics to show their strength in an effort to make people fear them, as opposed to guiding them gently. Energy passing away is the Hierophant in reverse. And this is just that truly contemptible behavior. It, it is hard not to really drag him. Um, it's really hard for me not to. I recognize his energy. I recognize the actions that he takes. And there's the spiritual part of me that says rise above. He has a life review coming. It's going to be brutal. Um, and while I may feel different aspects of his squatting in the White House, sorry, like I said, it's hard for me not to drag him. Um, in a huge variety of ways. I know that how I feel his actions is nothing compared to people who are Black and brown, people who are gay, people who are transgendered. I am very lucky. I have visible physical ailments, if you will, but that is not, I know, I have never, like, I mean, I've seen him attack people with physical disabilities and ailments. And by the way, we have a cat. Come to join us. Anyway, he's attacked people like that. He's made fun of them, but he's never sent his crew after us where we feel like we cannot, like we're terrorized, right? Um, so, hey, baby. Oh, okay. Sorry, I touched you. Could you move on? Okay, thank you, baby. So anyway, when I say contemptible, it's the fact that he tries to make people who are his followers terrorize the people that he has pointed towards that week. And Hopefully that contemptible behavior is passing away. Overarching energy of this reading is the sun in reverse. And this is just his unhappiness, his negativity. The sun in the upright position is one of the most beautiful cards of the deck, if not the most beautiful card of the deck. It is that bright, loving, happy energy. And in the reverse, though, it is, it's just that. Okay, I just had this terrible image float through my head, and he's got this tells you how my brain works. I have a very sick and wrong sense of humor. He's wearing his 45 skin suit, but on the inside, it just feels like this rotting, steaming, composting glop of green it on the inside. That's how his energy strikes me. I've never put that into words. Ooh, I'm sharing them with you first. Don't you feel fabulous for that? Okay, and then coming to bear is the Eight of Swords in reverse. So in the upright position, this is a card of people feeling like they are stuck, like they are in a bond that they cannot get out of, that they are tied to whatever their circumstances are, and that leaving those circumstances would be far more difficult than it's worth trying to escape. In the reverse, however, they have figured their way out. They have figured out that they can overcome the binds that have them entrapped. And it is a freedom. And that is hopeful. That is hopeful to me. At the top of the reading, we have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. And if you're new, I do a modified Celtic cross, and this one is generally the basic Celtic cross. I only have the one leg here. Usually I do three for a 0 to 3 month, 3 to 6 month, 6 to 12 months. But because this is just a reading for the upcoming week, I didn't do the other legs. So anyway, but I lay my cards down top to bottom instead of bottom to top, and I just do it because that's how I was taught how to read. So this is this card represents, so on in the upright position, this is a card of skill and knowledge and mastery of those skills. This is an artisan. In the reverse, this is laziness. It is insolence. It is lies and manipulation. They will do their level best to make it look like they're busy when in fact they're, playing on Facebook or Shitter or some other social media app while they sit at their desk looking pretty and busy. Um, so that this is also mean spiritedness, far more than just the mean girls energy, the bully energy. This goes to a level of coldness and unspeakable crimes against humanity. This is what that card represents in terms of 45. Hmm. Wow. Next, we have the Eight of Swords in reverse, or Eight of Wands in reverse, excuse me. And this card is all about the person is very untrustworthy, but they're a really good speaker. They're very good at manipulating people, brainwashing them, making them believe the things they want them to believe. 45. Hi, you're back. You're back. She's back. Oh, do you need some space? I'm sorry, baby. Let me help you with that. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Better? Okay. None of the animals in our house are very spoiled. Like, not at all. They're very beloved if you haven't figured it out. And yes, they are all very spoiled. All right. So, in the hopes and fears, we have the Three of Wands in reverse. And this card is about delays. In the upright position, this is about planning and taking action. And, it's the strategic plans that are coming and the timing of those plans and how they're going to get things to move forward. But in reverse, there's some barriers in the way and there's delays there. And to me, I feel like this, from a 45 perspective, there's a lot coming out. There's a lot happening that he doesn't want to have come out. And so he's going to do his very best to put a pause on those things, all that information being released. On the flip side of that, though, is there's a lot of things that he's doing that are then being, um, that lawsuits are occurring and going in front of judges, and those actions cannot occur until judges rule on them as to whether they're constitutional or not constitutional, and so on. And so, in terms of that, this is a twofold wish. He wants to keep some things hidden and delayed, and on the other hand, he doesn't want those delays. So, you know, all the things that are frustrating to him. There you go. And then finally, we have the magician in reverse. And the magician in the upright position, the magician is somebody who really literally can create magic. They can make things happen that are profound and amazing. In the reverse, this is illusion and manipulation and brainwashing and making you believe that what you see is what is not what you see. And that, gaslighting, those are the things that go with the magician in reverse. So I also wanted to read this from some of this from the perspective of you and me, the people. And so let me come back to this a little here. At the center, we have 45, the uncaring leader, the person who has no empathy, who has no desire to truly do what it takes to lead the country. And he's not in it for the highest and greatest good. Let me put it that way. Crossed by you and me, the people, average Joes. And here we are looking at all the things that are happening that are in front of us, and we're not paying attention to what spirit is offering. And I suspect that we're going to pay closer attention to that this coming week, what spirit is offering us. or we're going to know more about that this week. At the base, strength, that's us. We have strength in numbers. They are 1%, we are 99%. Ooh, wow. And the thing that really stands out to me about this card always is how gentle the woman is with the lion. The lion is following her orders, her directions, her lead, because the lion loves her. She is gentle, she is kind. But make no mistake, the longer 45 stays where he's at, the greater the possibility that the lion will do what lions do, and that is eat the prey. And you and I are not the prey. In terms of us, the people, the Hierophant passing away, um, we have been feeling very vulnerable and very, we have felt his contempt for us. We don't have to tolerate that. We don't have to tolerate that. We have the opportunity to show up and say no more. And we can do that in a peaceful manner. And for us, we are unhappy as well as with him and with the people he's chosen to be on his team. We don't have to put up with that either because we have found our freedom. We have found our voice. We have found our ability to stand up and say no more. This has to end. In terms of the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, the protests that have occurred, the early protest, I should say that, did not have they did not have the turnout or the energy that the more recent ones have had. And the more people who show up and the more often these occur, the louder the drum beats, the sooner they're going to be gone. And when we see protests of people out in the streets so that there are so many people that you can't get a car through, that you can't get, no, that did not even make sense. Sorry. I don't even know where that came from. When we see so many people out on the streets protesting day after day after day, or weekend after weekend, it's going to start with weekend after weekend. I suspect that's going to happen in about 4 weeks if we make it that far with him. There will be a lot of power in those protests, and they just continue to grow. in size and in days on the calendar and they're paying attention, but so far they have no fear. They're feeling very secure. That's not going to last long, I suspect. In terms of our perspective on the Eight of Wands in reverse, we are feeling oppressed and frustrated, and that we've had lots of people who said, "Oh, Kamala's going to win. Kamala will be inaugurated, not 45, not 45, not 45." And yet, I'm between the statements that 45 himself has made that the election was rigged and so he's in office. And he said that. I have a video about that one a couple weeks ago. He was in the Oval Office with Gianni from about the soccer. And he said it in that meeting. And I'll see if I think about it, I will put that in the more section below. So anyway, we are frustrated. We're feeling very much the delay of him still being in the office, that he has not left yet. We have had the hope of others coming to, you know, help us get rid of him. Nobody's coming. It's us. It is up to us. Anyway, and so there's a lot of frustration on our behalf that this is a man who seemingly is getting away with robbing us blind, allegedly, and just destroying all of our norms. And then the hopes in the future, hopes and fears for the future is the Three of Wands in reverse. We fear that treacherousness, the lack of empathy, the lack of support, the lack of leadership, the cold authoritarian methods that he's showing. And then finally, you know, don't believe what you see. The Magician in reverse. Don't believe what you see. You're the one who's wrong. We're going to be gaslit. They're going to say what they want to say to make people believe what they want us to believe. There's if you tell a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. That's their mindset. So be prepared. At the same time, in terms of that magician, the other thing to be prepared about, this final outcome card, be very careful in believing what you see online. Um, like today, I saw a picture supposedly of Trump washing a car with Fleon sitting in a chair next to it, and Trump was washing a Tesla. I am 99.9% certain that is fake. And so just be really cautious about what you see and whether you believe it or not. Check, triple check, multiple triple check. Just because it looks one way, that doesn't mean it's accurate. And so that illusion aspect of the magician and gaslighting. You don't see what you really did see. The continued brainwashing, those are the methods that have worked for them so far, and they're going to continue to use them until they figure out that we're not falling for them anymore. And then they're going to try and switch, and we're going to have to be ahead of them. We're going to have to be on the ball. We're going to have to pay very close attention. So just watch for the propaganda around you and how you interact with that. Okay. All right. That is my readings for the upcoming week. I really hope that you all have a beautiful week. I hope that you take the time to live your life and be happy and find your joy in the things that are right there with you. You know, this is a bigger picture. The politics are just they impact us all in around the world. They impact everybody around the world. They impact some people far more harshly than they do others. And so it is always, always, always my hope that you do something out of kindness for others this week. Practice some kind of random act of kindness as often as possible. Seriously, that's always my hope. You know, if somebody's waiting to get into traffic, give them an edge, let them in. If somebody, is 5 cents short at the grocery store, pop that 5 cents down. I've buy somebody's holiday dinner. Easter is coming up, and if you celebrate Easter, maybe buy a dinner or contribute to a food bank if you have that ability, if you have the means to do so, whatever it is. And a random act of kindness can just be saying, "Hey, I noticed what you're wearing today looks really great on you," or "You have such a beautiful smile. Thank you for sharing that with me." Those are things that stick with people. And I sincerely hope that anybody watching this now and in the future, that you practice those because they make you feel just as good as it does the person who's on the receiving end. And on that note, I want to say you are made of stardust and magic. You are far more powerful than you realize, and you are profoundly loved. Thanks for being here with me today. I'm really appreciative of it. I hope you have a beautiful, blessed week. Take care. Bye now.